Question 13 is asking us to find an equation of the dashed line shown below. So looking at this picture, we can see this indicates here that it crosses at a right angle, which means that the dashed line is perpendicular to the solid line. And these ticks here indicate that each segment on either side is the same length. So that means that the dashed line crosses at the midpoint of the solid line. So this is what we can figure out from the picture, and we also have the points on the end of the line segment of the solid line. So to start out, let's figure out what the slope is of our dashed line. So we know that the two lines are perpendicular, and this means that the slope of one, or m1, is equal to the negative reciprocal of the slope of the other, or m2. And so we can figure out the slope of the solid line based on the points given. I'm going to call that slope m2, and that's equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm going to call, let's see, I'm going to call this point here, this point up here, x1, y1, and this point down here, x2, y2. And so plugging that in gives me y2 is negative 2 minus y1, which is 3, over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is negative 1. And so negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5 on the top. 4 minus negative 1 is the same as saying 4 plus 1, which is 5 on the bottom, and this gives me negative 5 over 5, which is negative 1. So the slope of my solid line is negative 1, and this means that m1, or the slope of our dashed line, is negative 1 over negative 1, and this gives me positive 1 for the slope of the dashed line. And so the next thing we need to do is figure out what the midpoint is, because this is a point on the dashed line, and we can use that to find the equation. And so the equation for a midpoint is just the average of the x difference in the x, average of the x values and the average of the y values. So this gives me x2 plus x1 over 2 for the x value, and y2 plus y1 over 2 for the y value. And plugging in the points given, this gives us 4 plus negative 1 over 2, and negative 2 plus 3 over 2. And evaluating that out, 4 plus negative 1 is 3 over 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1 over 2 this side. So the coordinates of our midpoint are x equals 3/2, y equals 1/2. And so we can use this point to plug into our equation, our point slope equation. And I'm just going to write that over here. Point slope equation is y minus b over x minus a equals m. Plugging in those points gives us y minus 1/2 over x minus 3/2. Sorry, that's a bit messy there. Equals our slope of 1. So we can rearrange this a bit by multiplying both sides of our equation by x minus 3/2. And this gives us y minus 1/2 equals x minus 3/2. So I've just multiplied that by 1. And we can make this look a little bit nicer as well by adding 1/2 to both sides. This, and this gives us y equals x. Negative 3/2 plus 1/2 is negative 2/2, which is negative 1. So the equation of the dashed line is y equals x minus 1.